Hello there, everybody, and welcome to a special kind of upload. This is a sneak peek of the first episode of the new podcast I'm doing with my friends Alex and Davis from the Scary Game Squad. We are giant Star Wars nerds, and discovered that separately, we were reading all the new Star Wars novels and comic books. So, in the middle of talking about that, it hit us. Maybe you guys would like to hear what we thought? Maybe join in on the conversation? So we've created the Star Wars New Canon Book Club. Since the expanded universe is no more, we only are going to focus on things that are canon to the ongoing story right now, hence the name. We'll explain it in further detail in the podcast, but I just wanted to let you know that this is a sneak peek, and it's going to be up on SoundCloud, the link will be below, and probably iTunes later today. Hopefully, fingers crossed. If you are as hyped for Star Wars as we are, please, by all means, join us. We're not doing this for money or anything like that. We're doing it because, what the hell, we wanted to talk about it for an hour and figured you guys would want to listen in. So, thank you so much, and please to enjoy. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Star Wars New Canon Book Club. My name is Jesse Cox, and I'm joined by two brave souls on this adventure of ours.
Two sexy little Jedis.
That is not how I would ever describe a Jedi. I'm Sith for life. But, sorry. Alex Fossiani.
Yeah.
Michael Davis.
Hello there.
And together, we are basically doing this because we all read a bunch of Star Wars books recently because the new canon's out. The old stuff's gone.
Yeah. That's a good thing we should talk about real quick.
Yes.
About the death of the old...
Okay, don't turn it into freaking melodrama over here.
I built a pyre for all the books. I lit it on fire.
Yeah.
I played the song.
Never forget.
And then the Ewoks
Never
started
forget.
dancing.
Okay. Yeah, that was the weird part at the end. You're like, who are these guys? No, basically what happened was Abrams was like, yo, like...
I think it was Disney more than that.
Well, I think he was just like, I want to like make a movie that's set like in the future, and I don't want to have to like... Can I say bad words?
I just say poop.
Okay,
or
yeah.
doodles.
Well, they just decided like, I want to make a story like that far in the future, and I don't want to have to deal with all this poop in between because that's like stupid. Like I don't.
And it's stuff that they didn't have any say over too.
Right. But so the thing is, like, it's not like they want to just wipe it away and like forget everything that happened. It's more that they want to have the leeway to do whatever they need to do, so that when they make the movies, like people aren't like, well, after the death of Grand Admiral Thrawn, like,
which rip.
Yeah,
never forget.
Yeah. So they relegated all the old
And
books.
Chewie, never forget.
Yeah.
Crushed by a moon.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Spoilers for that book from 15
Yeah, that doesn't
years
matter
ago.
anymore.
Yeah,
Spoilers for that book
yeah.
that is no longer canon.
Yeah. So they relegated it all to. They're like, no, it's still important. Like they relegated it all to Star Wars. Like the new printings of all the books are called Star Wars Legends. Right. Like they're something that never existed.
It's
Well, they write about it in the backs of the books where they're like, oh, hey, these are like... They pretend that they're like sort of like Homer's tales, like
Right.
hearsay. They could be, who knows what's real, who's not.
It's
They're
basically the Ultimates universe, but it's...
Exactly, yeah. A lot of people were complaining that it's like glorified fan fiction. I think it's a step above that, but it's interesting reading. Like it's stuff that's very well... A lot of it's
Are you saying the
well
new
written.
stuff or the old stuff is glorified fan fiction?
The old stuff.
Old stuff's still worth reading. Yeah.
It
it's
is.
great.
Well, and I even before reading the new continuity, I just like got back into like the X-Wing, all the other stuff, and I read like maybe 8 books of the old canon in the last like year or 2 years, and a lot of it is that, but there is some stuff that is like
Fantastic.
cool
And-
stuff.
And a lot of people, especially people who've read all the books, will very easily be able to tell you what the best ones are. And if you'd like in the future, we can do that.
We'll
but-
probably have to, honestly. Like, if this goes for as long as I hope it goes. Here's the thing, like, it's not like that stuff necessarily didn't happen. Like, certain things, like, even already, like, there's, like, in the Clone Wars cartoon, I think it is, they, like, reference, like, Black Sun. So they're like, okay,
in this book, they reference the Black Sun.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay,
and the book we'll talk about today.
Yeah. So it's not like everything that it's totally wiped away. It's just like they want to be able to pick and choose.
Darth in Clone Wars too. In the last episodes, Yoda meets Darth Bane's like Force ghost like that's haunting the thing. So that establishes that he even says he
Can you not
established
just
rule 2.
cavalierly spoil the end of that series for everyone who's listening to this?
That's not the that's
not
like a
the end.
thing that happens.
Okay.
Guy who has not seen the series.
Yeah, that's right. I have not seen the Clone Wars series.
It's like me being like,
Someday-
oh my god, in Return of the Jedi, there's like red guards
Okay,
that guard
that's
the
not-
Emperor. You're like, can you just not cavalierly
spoil?
spoil that?
That
Yeah.
You were
those
like,
guys
no,
are
you
red.
were like, at the end of the show, Yoda goes and meets Darth Bane's thing.
No, he happens upon him.
All right, fine.
So
Why don't you watch it, you nerd?
I'll watch it someday, but I have a life.
what we decided to do is
Ow.
after all of us reading Aftermath, which is, I think, for pretty much all Star Wars fans who are also fans of the books or just want to know more about the
This is
universe.
the sexy one.
This was the one that everyone wanted to see. It takes place after episode 6.
Which nothing else does now, officially.
Right. And so this is the very first, like, welcome to the new world. It's going to be magical. Join us for this. And so we all read this separately, but got together and started talking about, like, wow, we all read that. And we thought this would just be a great idea to sit down and just record our conversation about this book. And more importantly, any future books we read. And we decided, let's just make a book club and purposefully read every Star Wars book and or comic that comes out.
So I think how it'll work is we'll say what book it is the time before.
Right.
So that you have
So
time.
at the end of this episode, we'll say what the next book is.
Right.
And then we'll meet again in 2 weeks.
Great. Perfect. That's enough time for even the most illiterate of us to read a book.
And if you choose not to read, get it on Audible.
Yeah.
Call us Audible.
That's what you
I'll
guys
say
have been
that's
doing.
what I've read a bunch of the other like new canon books, but on Jesse's recommendation, I did the Audible. Like, oh my god, the way to go.
Yeah. The
It's
Star Wars
so-
Audible books are like listening to radio plays, like radio dramas. They're great. I love that.
And you think it because they put in like some musical stings and some like sound effects, and you like can think it's cheesy for a second, but then you just get into it, and it like totally enhances the experience.
The first maybe 1 or 2 chapters, you're like, meh, and then by the end of it, you're like, that was awesome. It's so, and I would suggest with the book we're gonna talk about today, Star Wars Aftermath, that if you don't like the style of writing in this book, get the Audible version, and it will make it flow much better. Before we say anything, pause this video / podcast / whatever format you're listening to this on.
Yeah.
Pause it. Go read that book. I don't think we're going to be doing a recap of the entire book. That's not what this is about.
It's
this
just
is
like
about
our
opinions.
thoughts.
We'll probably talk over the events, but we're not going to like.
Yeah, we're not
We'll
gonna
definitely
walk you
spoil.
through
We'll
the story.
definitely spoil. Poop.
Massive spoilers
Yeah.
are going to be happening. And we'll just say pause, come back. This hopefully won't be an issue in future episodes.
No, you're going to know what we're going to read next time, and then it's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll give you a sec. And now we will return to Star Wars Aftermath. All right. Right at the top.
Yeah.
Opinion of the writing style of this book.
Trash. Swill.
I was not a fan of
I'm not
the way
going to
this
say
book
that.
was
I'm
written.
not going to say that about somebody who like wrote a whole book. It's not swill. That was severe.
But that was like you had a guttural, angry reaction.
I like read about the book. Like I forget what this guy's name is, like Wendig or something, Scott.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know he's going to be like, oh, I don't mean that. you're a fine dude.
Alex Falciani said I'm
he was like, yo, like I found out that I had the opportunity to write a Star Wars book, and I wrote it in 45 days.
Yeah, it's like a first draft that then just becomes the scripture.
And it got pushed up. It was supposed to come out. It's still
November.
shouldn't-
It was
yeah,
supposed to come out
still
in
shouldn't
November.
be out. It came out 2 months early, and it has like typos in the book. Like I was reading through the book. There's typos, a lot of like weird references to like Ackbar says it's a trap in the book.
That's one of the things that I think. So Chuck Wendig wrote this book, and it's one of those things that I would really, really love to have a conversation with him. Just sit down and talk with him about the fact that there's weird things in the book that I can't tell if it's something he wanted in or if it's something Disney / Del Rey Publishing or someone who was higher up said, you know what would be great?
Sprinkle in a little bit of the
Put in catchphrases and things people say.
But this though, 'cause
There's a
this,
lot
this-
of things in the
there's
book.
a lot of
that really this bothers me. But having read a lot of old stuff recently, they did it too. Like this has been a thing that's been part of Expanded Universe forever.
Yeah, like, I
they
have a
like
bad
throw
feeling
in
about
stuff,
this, never
and
tell me
it
the odds.
actually makes me like cringe when I hear
It takes you out of the moment, And
Actually, there's good books that don't do that though. There's good books.
Yeah, they were telling me the odds. They always do. I got a bad feeling about. Well, that's a little bit easier because that's what like everyone says.
But
But like,
still,
but
why
like,
do they say that? That
it's a
surely is
trap.
not a saying.
Like, come on.
Surely, like it didn't organically like all over the galaxy. Everybody says, "I have a bad feeling about this," and they're like, "I love that. I'm going to say that."
Right. So, at the top, I think we all agree that the writing in the book, be it the fact that it's in like not first person, but it's present tense.
Yeah, that's
it's in
really
present
bizarre.
tense, which is very, very weird. And it's choppily written. And the thing is on listening to the audio version, you can kind of get through that.
I read it in like 2 days.
I think because in the audio version, you're picturing. You're not reading it. It's somebody.
On the
it's like some dude is like telling you the story as it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes it better.
Let me tell you, I read the text of this book in 2 days, and I like got confused sometimes because I had to be like, what? Like it was really weird. Like they reference blue milk sometimes.
Yes.
There was can we just talk about Sinjir?
Well, let's take the time to go through the characters one by one. But if you have something that's like a point that
It's the big thing about Sinjir that we're going to talk about.
all right. Well,
Yeah.
another great example.
That'll be fun. Let's push that off.
Yeah.
So another thing that I think goes back to those like throwing a bone to the audience kind of deals is they even mention the diner from episode 2.
Dax's Diner or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like
Dex's Diner.
Like, that place that's in the back of the diner. He snuck in through, because everyone knows about that secret passage back in, Dex's Diner. There are Coruscant is huge. Coruscant is massive. There are a million things that could happen on there that don't need to reference something that happened in episode 2. And I know that it's like we're throwing a bone to the audience, so like everything's connected.
Right.
But it's
unrealistic. It
Yes,
feels
yes.
it feels like a video game or something. Like it's
there are like thousands of inhabited worlds in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
So that you would know one dingy diner on one place it's unrealistic.
they go way back.
Yeah, and I think with all that said, because we started out very
You could live
negative
in
on
the
this
same
book.
town as someone here and reference a diner and be like, what are you
that's
talking
the thing.
about?
That's the thing. It's like the like the plot, like the sequence of events in the book is. I'm not against
story,
it. Yeah, I liked it.
The Rebels-esque A plot, I enjoyed. The B plot of Admiral Sloane and the Empire and getting like the behind the scenes of what's going on, I enjoyed. I even especially enjoyed all the little C plot things of like everything around the galaxy.
So that's something we should like kind of mention.
Those I think were the highlight of this book.
Yeah, so basically what they do is, because I feel like there's kind of like a little bit of weight to this book because it's like the first one. And so he kind of like sets the tone by giving us little like vignettes.
Like interstitial things.
Yeah, like little vignettes between the big chapters of like just things that are going on around the galaxy. And some of them are like really meaty and exciting for like The Force Awakens, for example.
Right.
Which, by the way, we all watched the trailer. We're not waiting. We're going to talk about, it's definitely going to eventually like funnel into us speculating on events in these books and stuff about that relate to The Force
definitely.
Awakens.
At some point, we're just going to start talking about stuff that deals with the movie and the books.
So that's...
Especially considering the Aftermath is the first book of a trilogy.
Right.
And the other ones clearly aren't going to be written before.
Well, he could write both of them in the next 3 months.
He
Yeah.
very well could. But they won't be released.
Right.
Until after the movie comes out.
Right.
So
Let 'em
it's all
breathe.
gonna,
They need it.
It's all going to fit together in some way. I think we should just go through it. Main story, and then the Empire storyline, and then the little tiny tidbits. And that's
Great.
the way we should break it down to be easier.
So quick summation of the story. This pilot, Nora Wexley, is like coming back home. She's going to like relax. And like she's like thinking about like, I'm going to go back to my kid. I was like a rebel hero. And then like somebody catches I forget how she finds out, but like Wedge gets captured above the planet.
Well, yeah, he gets captured but gets off one comm blast.
Yeah.
And they end up finding out. Nora's husband was taken away by the Empire.
Well, she finds out later.
It's like about a month.
Because remember initially, and again, we haven't read this. Some of
it's been
the
about a
finer
month.
details are a little foggy. But if I recall, she's being smuggled on because she wants to pick him up and take him back to the
she's
rebellion.
being smuggled back to the planet.
So there just is like a Star Destroyer above this planet that
she's
shouldn't
ready
be there.
she's ready to like settle down. She wants to like go back and get her family and
Then
like
get out.
and
yeah.
Yeah, and her sister and her sister's wife will not join them. They're basically Patty and Selma. They're just like
They literally,
"We're fine
they
here."
just like that's well, I don't want to get into it too much yet because I want to talk about Sinjir, but like they just kind of like are like, yeah, his sister and the sister's wife, and then you're like, I want to know about that. That's really interesting. And then they're like, too bad, they're gone for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
We just got Temmin.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Bones.
And Mr.
We'll talk
Davis
about
hates
Mr. F.
Bones.
We'll talk about that. So the reason Wedge gets captured is because it's a month after the fall of Return of the Jedi. I think it's a month or so.
Something like that. It's not very long.
Yeah, like word is still spreading to parts of the galaxy.
It's
so
Imperial recent
control.
that the book is literally titled Aftermath.
Yeah. Yeah,
And the Death Star is exploding on the cover.
Yeah. And so the Empire is like regrouping above this planet, which I think is called Akiva.
Yeah.
Akiva, yes.
And
It's like a neutral system. The
They
Empire
own
has
it.
never had a good foothold in it. That's like one of the points of it.
yeah, the Empire has...
It's like too unruly.
The Empire has a dealing with the
like crime lord.
Yeah, the guy who's in charge,
Surat
the
Nuat?
king. No, not Surat.
Oh,
Surat's
you're
the
right.
crime
No,
lord.
yeah, you're
But
right.
The Empire has like dealings
The governor or
with
whatever his name is.
Yeah,
like
the guy who's in
nasty, like dude. Yeah.
charge. Yeah, the typical like giant fat overlord who's like, oh,
Who has like this
no.
like a insanely ornate
Opulent
castle,
palace,
like
yeah.
full
So they're like meeting up, and Wedge is like, oh crap, this is it. This is the thing.
It says that it's like his last stop before he goes back. He's been going to
He's just about to retire.
Yeah,
He's one day away from getting the badge and his gold watch.
It
gets all
like
mixed
him
up.
like going system to system, and he's on a mission that he literally was just like, I can do this myself, which is like,
it's a
all
mission
right, Wedge.
he made. Like Ackbar talks about it. Like
Yeah.
he just like went off and did his
He's
own.
like, don't worry, I got this thing. And so he's like scouting is basically what he's doing, and he comes across not only one Imperial Star Destroyer, but two more show up.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the what? And so aboard the main Star Destroyer is Admiral Sloane, who is our like quote unquote villain. It's hard to describe
But she's
her
also
as a
like
bad
our
guy.
point of character.
Yeah, that's the thing I want to say about this book.
our point of view, like character from the Empire side.
I actually liked, and this is as a guy who just loves the Empire in general, but I loved the way they portrayed the Empire as being like, what the F do we do?
It's much more like, I mean, you get a lot of behind the scenes stuff about the Empire, like in like especially the Thrawn books and any of the books that take place before the movies or during the movies.
Right.
But in this, they really go like they spend time making the Empire not just like glimpse of the inner workings, but also all the characters are very like relatable, and they're still like douchies, like douchey dudes.
The one part I disagree with you on, and are like some of the main Empire people.
Well,
They're like so one-dimensional.
Well, yeah, no, they're stereotypes of people who would be in the Empire is what they are.
Yeah, there's still evil dudes in the Empire, but it's like they go to great lengths, especially in this book, just to like show that there are humans that are like they have like feelings and emotions and like personal reasons for doing
You'll
things.
also like this
Underlings.
because like Lords of the Sith and talking about spoiling anything, they do a lot of what you're talking about, and you're like, oh yes, you have to have. It's really easy in the movies to be like, these guys are clearly bad. Here they're like, no, they're all people. They're not evil. They just respect order. Like there's another side to it, and they do a
It's
good
like
job
not
showing it.
every single Nazi was like a racist, like bigot. Like like some of them were just like enlisted dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were part of the machine, but
They're
it wasn't
trying to,
like
like-
they weren't the one note like
Yeah, they were trying to perform their
Goebbels
job.
guy. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it gives you that feeling of like she's not evil, but she's clearly on.
She's trying to be.
bad guy.
She's trying to be a good Imperial.
Yeah, she like. There is no mistake. It isn't like one of those things that we're saying like, oh yeah, well she could be
join
a good
the
guy.
rebellion?
Like no. She's straight
Oh,
up
yeah, she'll
Empire.
never.
Yeah, like this is one of those things like going back to the Nazi thing. Like, oh maybe he could turn. Like no, this guy's still
No,
a
he's
Nazi.
still a Nazi. Just
He's
like
just not a bonkers Nazi.
Yeah.
But he's still the guy you're gonna end up shooting at.
Like
in the
you,
end.
you have to
Right.
kill
Yeah,
this
you
person.
have to kill this person.
Yeah.
And she's that character.
but
who's
it
like,
makes for a more interesting good guy bad guy
Yes.
relationship.
and I've always said like
yeah, we're like, man, different circumstances, this whole thing could be different, but they're not.
and you can always tell a good story based on the villain. I've always like the better the villain, the better the overall story is.
Yeah.
Like the person, and I think this is the problem that I have with the book is that it's a pretty good story written poorly.
Yeah, it's like the actual grammar and syntax of the story is not that good.
My other big problem though is
Just
that
feels
it's
rushed.
it also just doesn't feel that important to like. We're all waiting for like the big blockbuster book, and it was sort of
the thing about it, that's the other thing I have that I'm a little bit critical of this book about, because like the big question in your mind, right? Like what
happened to Luke? What happened to Leia? What happened to Han?
Why does anybody care about this? Well, we find a little bit about Han.
Well, that's true.
But like the thing that's weird is that it's just like, here's this pilot who you don't give a crap about.
But she knows all the characters from
yes.
And she used to work with this.
Seen everyone
like Wedge is in the book, and he's like, you're excited to see Wedge,
and then he's knocked out
unconscious for
of it.
Yeah. He gets knocked out like 3 times or something.
They give him like, he's like a badass for like the parts where he's awake. He's like constantly outsmarting everybody.
Through a tunnel, and that's
then just like passes out.
Like takes out dudes in a communication room. Like he's great. And then they have Admiral Ackbar, and you see Ackbar, and Ackbar's training at like
he's like doing like
food, crazy stuff.
He has like a staff, and he's like training, and like his little aide comes in, and it's like, Mr. Ackbar. He's like, what?
Like Ackbar's awesome,
like shirtless.
But it shows. I think the best part about this book is that it's kind of using true to life is like a crazy word here, but it's
grounded.
It's a much more grounded version than if you look at the Thrawn Trilogy. That was awesome, but it isn't like reality grounded.
Thrawn is like Moriarty. Like he's like the Joker. Like he's out in
the outer systems. He's out in the Rim, and then
he's like a force more than a person.
Yeah, and then he shows up, and it's like, oh my god, what do we do? And in that time, the New Republic has clearly blossomed and just become amazing. This is much more real in that, sure, the Emperor's dead and the Death Star 2 is gone. And Vader's gone. But there's a galaxy of planets and Imperial Moffs and Overlords and like Star Destroyers and stuff. It would not fall that quickly.
The Republic has to actually like convince everyone that they're like a good alternative to the Empire and that they should follow the Republic now. Which is kind of a weird thing because it's kind of like trying to take over the galaxy.
Yeah, and there's a wonderful scene that is with I think Mon Mothma's in it, and
it's her aide, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's Mon Mothma and 2 of her other aides. It's the one crazy haired general from I think the first movie.
They use the word trending in that scene.
While we're all struggling to remember this, I want to put another caveat into this podcast, which is that look, we are not Star Wars experts. But we are fans. And we love the stuff, and sometimes we're going to say the wrong thing. Just deal with it. Just imagine that you made a mistake and how you feel when you make a mistake, but everybody should have caught your drift. That's where we're at right now.
Right.
Unpause.
Okay, so they're having a meeting, and it is basically the angel and devil on the shoulder conversation where it's like, here's the deal. We need to just start hammering stuff and taking over and building this massive army and this galactic fleet. We need to do all this stuff.
Oh, which, by the way, the New Republic the Senate meets on Chandrila and not Coruscant now.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we want to take it back to the people. Mon Mothma's like, that's where like all these great new ideas came from.
That's your home planet. Yeah.
I want it to be there. And so they go around and they get, like there's a great scene where this guy is like, I'm trying to think of what the character's name is. She's the aide who does all the...
She's like the PR person.
Yeah, she's the PR person for the Republic. And this dude is just chucking like fruit and crap at her. And he's like, boo, I love the Empire.
Yeah.
And she straight up is like, why? What's going on? And he's like, you people came, you booted the Empire off. Now crime lords rule the planet. It's even worse than it was before. Like there's no food, there's no nothing. She's like, you can be a senator. Come, let's do this thing.
Go.
Let's fix your planet. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And so what goes on is that Mon Mothma's idea is, once we've settled all this Empire stuff, I'm reducing the size of the military, I'm cutting it, and I want us to be about peace and harmony. And
everybody's like...
Yeah, the one general's like, what are you doing? Like, the minute you do that, that's what happened to the old Republic.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, the dude has a point.
Right.
But on the other side, you can see why everyone else is like, we don't want to be the Empire, because the minute we have a fleet everywhere and we have presence in all these different systems, we're the Empire again. And it's a really great, I love that about this book, that it's very grounded in like, what do you do?
And that's the thing that's exciting. Like, all we have is the trailer right now, and we're seeing things that are like, yeah, there seems to be some kind of like good guy team that's a little bit better off, at least, than the Rebel Alliance was. But we also see these like stormtroopers and military.
From my perspective, it looks like they're still ragtag. The scene where like you see Poe walk by and like arm touch Finn. I'm like, that's like a Yavin scene,
right? But why wouldn't they have their old bases still?
Have you seen that shot where Han is leading them in? There's that cool looking robot that walks by. The Mandalorian symbol is up there with other flags. My like theory is that they tried to like do an alliance and it didn't work out.
That's the thing that I'm kind of like getting from it, is that like maybe the Empire just like took back over
the First Order.
Well, so going back to the main story, what happens is we have Nora, who comes to get her son Temmin,
who's like a genius boy.
Yeah,
I hope he is only in this book. And
they do this. Ezra is his name on Rebels.
Oh, no, here's the thing. This story,
Aladdin is his name in Aladdin. Like, it's this like weird,
Anakin is his name in the Phantom Menace.
Hyper-capable, like scrappy young guy that is like
used to be our house, but now it's my shop.
Cool
Mom.
talking and weird. I'm just like, what are the worst character?
Well, I feel like this is the character that they think like young kids will relate to.
Like a super
young
smart kid
boy
who can
will
do
want
anything.
to be that character.
They're like, oh, Luke, he wasn't like hip enough.
Like it's
not that he's hip.
It's like Han and Luke together as a character.
Well, it's like because Luke doesn't really read as a kid at any point. Like even in A New Hope,
even when he's whining, he's like, ah.
Yeah, he still is like, that's a man. Like if you look at him, that's a man.
It's just a whiny man.
It's an 18-year-old man.
Yeah. Temmin is like a little boy. He's like a boy.
He's 14.
14? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hard. It's like it makes a lot of the things hard to believe.
He's
but
like School
whatever.
of Hard Knocks. He like invented like he took a battle droid and like gussed it up and put like blades on it or something. And
I want to point out again, the book goes out of its way when the gangsters show up, and Temmin has to unleash Mr. Bones on the gangsters.
The droid's name is Mr. Bones. Yeah.
They go out of their way to constantly mock it as like, that was one of the stupidest, worst designs of a battle droid ever. Basically taking the fan feedback of watching the new trilogy and being like, those are the worst characters ever. And being like,
they're like widely known as the worst battle droid ever. Like the worst mistake in like battle history in the universe.
All the wind, imagine that you're sitting and you're trying to enjoy the original trilogy and you want to feel like these guys are in danger. Some guy like a few years later being like, these are the worst droids that ever existed. Like,
how did they ever win a fight?
You're like, they didn't, and they suck, and it doesn't feel cool to watch them.
Right.
It sucks. That sucks.
There's a lot of moments like that sort of just take you out because it's throwbacks to things that I'm telling you, I want to talk. Chuck, I want to talk with you about this.
It's like,
because I'm convinced that somewhere someone was like, how about you put this in there instead? Or put this in there? Because there's no way during the course of writing a book over 45 days, you say to yourself, yeah, I'm going to put this like throwback to something that happened before. Like, it just doesn't happen naturally.
Well, I mean, like...
Well, I'll tell you, in the other books, too, they constantly reference Clone Wars era stuff. Granted, in the other books, they take place before this. That's more relevant. But they, like, try to... In those books, they try to, like, justify...
They try to unify the canon. They're
like,
trying to get rid of the, like, prequel...
they're trying to make that divide, different. And it bugged me because it always like reminded me of the worst parts of those movies. But then having this book where they're like trying to be like, oh, look at us, we're like breaking the fourth wall with this. Like,
there's even a part in there where they talk about the opulence of that period.
Yeah,
where they mention well, now things are much better because before it was like fake opulence, which is going back to the fact that like those three movies, the look of it doesn't fit in with the Star Wars look. And so they're just like, because that was like a crazy period.
Yeah.
People were doing wacky stuff. And so the Imperial Bankers ship is from that period, and they all make fun of it because it looks so silly looking. And they're like, oh, well, that's just, which...
You gotta like stand by your own stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You gotta respect the world that you built if you're gonna tell a story in it. And I mean, this isn't a dig at Chuck Wendig necessarily. It's more like... Your idea of like rebranding Star Wars as something that's good quality again as Disney is like kind of like removing the elements that people don't like, and it subverts storytelling.
Yeah, no, and especially like, and this is totally like subjective. It's how I feel. Like Star Wars is so important to me and so great. I want to be swept up by it.
Right.
And when you like stop the basic story
like
to
blue
make
milk,
a
right?
jab at
Yeah.
you're like, look, I hate it too, but like I don't. That doesn't mean
we
you're writing a
universally
book.
agree that was not very good.
But leave your comments online, not in this book that we all have to read looking for the next thing.
I'm not trying to draw a line in the sand, but like we were doing fine when we just weren't thinking about the prequels when we're in,
That's true.
when we're in the cool universe that we like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like I get why that's problematic as like we have to have the Star Wars brand be unified, and that's why everything takes place in between these two. Like even the new Rebels show is like not before the movie. Like it's like kind of in the Clone Wars times.
Well, going back to Rebels, that's what this book feels like in the Ace story. It feels like an episode of Rebels, but with new characters.
And a little bit more adult.
Yes.
Like there's like killing a lot.
Yeah, but it's like it's a very interesting, and they remove any presence of Jedi, which I'll be honest, I love. I love that. I want my Jedi to. I swear to God, if Temin turns out to be a Jedi, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
If any of the main characters turn out to be a Jedi, I'm gonna be pissed because I like the idea of them being rare, and I like the idea of when they show up, stuff happens, and it's like no one's prepared for that.
It also has to be rare because they basically in the Star Wars trailer, he's like, he's like, yo, dog. Those Jedi, they're real. They're not just
they're real.
Which can we?
That's like the
tiny
biggest
tangent. That's my biggest complaint with the entire franchise at the moment.
That's inconsistent. That's an inconsistency that is unmissable.
If you go
you can't overlook it.
If you go back to 50 years ago, there are Jedi leading clone troopers into battle.
Everyone saw them. Everyone knew what a Jedi was in the entire world.
They were the heroes of
They were the
in Clone Wars. They're like also propaganda people, like that they use to help support. Like, oh, look at this General Skywalker.
Luke. Anakin shows up. He's like the best one. Like,
and then everyone's like, I'm sorry, what?
So that's
Jedi. You're crazy.
Yeah. So all right. So that is 50 years ago. Now, if there had not been episodes 4, 5, and 6, just hear me out here. If there had not been episodes 4, 5, and 6, and it had gone straight to 7, and you heard the new characters be like, so these Jedi, like, are they real or whatever? You could possibly say the Empire had propaganda the galaxy into being like, that's
somehow
just BS.
like some kind of like
yes. But if you include 4, 5, and 6, you know for a fact that there are people old enough. There's a scene where a dude is like, "Yo, sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader."
Yeah.
Like there are people who are old enough during who could have lived.
The Jedi are a myth in Han Solo's mouth in A New Hope. He's like, I don't know about these
hokey
these whatever
and
this.
so that is maybe max 20 years later.
I guess it's possible. And I think this is what they're leaning on, that like barring the gross age problem that like every character has, like Obi-Wan Kenobi is played by Ewan McGregor, and then like one person grows up, like a child goes from like baby to adolescent, and he's like an old ass man.
Yes.
He's like double the age.
Yeah. And so,
well, I mean, if we apply a theory of relativity, like time,
get out.
Maybe there are black holes nearby, and time.
It's Interstellar. Christopher Nolan will explain.
Yeah. All right. Barring that, just the idea that in 18 years, people aren't even sure that there's Jedi. The only way that I can like rationalize it in my own mind to myself is that like no one ever really fully like they knew that there were Jedi, but it's like, you know, like
but no one really like it would have to go back.
It'd have to be Outer Rim.
They're skeptical.
Also,
they're just skeptical. They're just skeptical about the magic. They see the Jedi. They see that they're like good fighters, but they're skeptical about like, oh, they can like, you know, float stuff around and like fly and stuff. Like that's the stuff that I think I could see it being like. There's not that many Jedi. There's like what in the New Republic or the Old Republic. There's like what,
I think 10,000, right? Like that's
not that many
galactic wide.
Yeah.
No, and
oh god, no! It's a tiny amount.
But but the legends and the stories, like it definitely. I would agree with you on this. It feels like sort of a galactic rim, sort of backwater. Like we heard about it because no Jedi would ever go out there. Like we've heard about them. Are they real? Because if you're on a planet and you heard stories, that makes more sense.
Because it could be that like Jakku is like just like a planet where
well,
no,
but here's
Jakku's
also
in the
why
book,
this
isn't
kind
it?
of falls apart though.
Isn't it? Because isn't there a scene in the book where a dude ends up on the planet and he's like, his wife and daughter are dead, and he's on the planet as like he's gonna go work in the mine. And he goes to a bar on the planet.
I thought that was Tatooine.
No.
Well, Jakku looks quite a bit like Tatooine.
Yeah.
No, but like he ends up there and he's like, no one ever comes out here. He's like, I don't think the Empire or the Republic would ever come out here, which was like the ironic line because then that's where a major battle takes place.
That's
Smash
where
cut
like
to, wow, they both totally came
Yeah,
here.
he goes in there and he gives him a drink, and the drink's like super harsh and nasty.
Oh yeah.
So are we saying that the Battle of Jakku, do we know when that happens?
It happens in the Battlefront expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It happens before the movie happens, whenever that is.
So it's just a big battle that happens. So that's the thing that's crazy. We know there's a battle.
Yeah.
That this story that Aftermath's probably going to climax in the Battle of Jakku.
That would actually be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be really
I hope
cool.
so.
Probably.
It
Because
needs
where
it
else
needs
are all
to
the
do
ships
something
going to
big.
go?
Well, we're getting off point though, I think, because what you're saying is, yeah, like if it's Outer Rim,
That's
that
the only.
they wouldn't.
It's the only way.
But what we're ignoring is like everyone knows Darth Vader. They make a point of saying that in Lords of the Sith and Tarkin. Vader, everyone knows that he is the guy.
But they don't know.
They don't even know. They don't even know the Emperor.
Stuff.
They know.
They don't.
We
They
can't
don't know
spoil
that
that
he has Force
book yet.
stuff.
Yeah.
Because
What?
We can't get into that book yet.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying, but like they know it. They show it in the original trilogy. Like he is the one that everybody
But he's
like
his
fears.
enforcer, and everyone who's around him in the original trilogy, the
They, like,
setup
roast
there
him all
is like,
day.
yeah, they give him so much crap, and they don't believe him. Which means by that point in time,
They only give
They
him
don't-
crap. They only give him crap in the first movie in that one scene.
Well, because-
otherwise he is without any sort of repercussions murdering people across space and time.
but to them, he is the Emperor's like he could be programmed and have like I mean, there's technology
Right.
in their mind that they think could make him
The question
do what he
isn't. The
does.
question isn't. Are there Jedi? Are there Sith? The question is like, are they magical?
Yeah,
are
do
they
they have the
legit?
powers? That
I
they
see
have?
what you're saying.
Yeah, like-
okay, is it just like a myth?
And if that's
Yeah.
the way you look at it, then that makes more sense than being like, because going back to the book, there is a legit scene where a boy is like, "May the Force be with you, Mister," whatever he says.
oh yeah,
Why you
it's like a
believe it?
household term to people.
Yeah, it's more like religion than it is. Yeah,
But I'm chalking that up more to like
Just a
writing,
saying?
like inconsistent writing than like.
Yeah.
like I said, this is just for my own. Like this is how I think about this, so that I can like not think about it all the time while I'm reading because I'm
And have it take you out of the experience every time you read it.
So let's talk about the Zabrak.
Well, yeah. Let's get back to the characters. So there's Nora, there's Temin, there's Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones, which again, he makes fun of. Let me just close this out. They make fun of how bad they are, but they insist on him constantly saying Roger, Roger, and all the other bull.
Roger.
Oh yeah, the other thing about Mr.
So
Bones is
obnoxious.
that he's like literally covered in bones and he's like black instead of white.
Yeah.
Like he's like painted
Right.
black. He like kicks ass. He says like funny quips. He's like a robot. Like he's kind of like the robot from.
They're just trying to make him HK-47.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The robot from KOTOR.
Every like droid since HK-47 wishes it was HK-47.
Roger. Murder.
If you're not our age, HK-47 is a character from a very, very old game at this point called
Yes.
Knights of the Old Republic. And
One of the best Star Wars games.
Yeah,
Pretty fantastic.
Still.
maybe the best. I'm not going to say that because I'm even older than that.
TIE Fighter is
yeah,
clearly
that's
the
what I was
best.
gonna
TIE
say.
Fighter's the best game.
TIE
TIE Fighter's great,
I'll
and then
accept TIE
like
Fighter, and I'll
Jedi
accept
Knight, and I
Mysteries of the
might be
Sith.
the only one Jedi Outcast. I also love
That
those
was good.
too.
That was a good one. Jedi Knight and Jedi Knight Mysteries of the Sith.
Yeah,
That's the real. That's
yeah,
the,
boy.
The dude is like half a body. And
Yeah.
he's like, ooh. And he
No, that's
flips
the
around.
first one.
That's both of
That's
them.
Jedi Knight. In the opening cutscene, the guy cuts him in half, and then when you fight him, he's like flying. He's like, it's so. You're like, wait, why isn't everybody flying in this universe? This guy just gets to...
Which I will admit, when I first saw episode 1 and Darth Maul gets cut in half, I was like, oh well, he'll be back.
He's just going to fly now.
Yeah, I was like, he'll just fly because the other guy lived.
The crazy
He'll just
thing-
he'll have like feet that have a floating top, and then his torso that has a floating bottom. He's like
and
a
that's what
two-part
we thought
attack.
for 10 years. And then Darth Maul got metal legs.
Yeah, and it was like,
And
oh,
his
all right.
brother Savage Opress. Savage Opress.
Oh, saints preserve us. And then
I have a
then the
like
Emperor showed up and
expensive
ended-
figurine of Savage too. Which
Oh,
is like
Savage
and then the
Opress.
Emperor showed up and ended all of
Yeah.
that. Thankfully,
More
ended
Cavalier
that.
in a really
Cavalier
great scene.
spoilers for
yeah,
Clone Wars
ended
cartoon.
all of that.
But if you're, I feel like, and I might be way off base here, but if you're gonna read the new canon books, you've already watched that.
Yeah, you're that guy who's already watched.
I'm
Or
not
lady.
that guy. I'm not that guy who watched it. I had no interest.
Yeah, because you're a casual.
No, it's lame. That's why I didn't watch it.
It's not. There's good stuff.
No,
there.
It is. There's some good stuff.
I think it's like
it is
there are
drastically hit and
There
miss.
are like it is hit and miss.
I feel like it's like probably like 90-10 in terms of like boring.
When they have episodes that are literally about the droids.
It's probably they're so bad, like 3-parters. It is probably 80-20.
Okay, that's still like not
85-15.
No,
is a more.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's the best show
YouTube,
where I would do other things while it was on in the background, and then for the good episodes,
and then turn and watch the fights.
The mark,
You're like,
the mark of a great
you
show.
watch because it's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Like even the bad episodes are gorgeous. You can sit through the whatever and get the story by hearing it because it's a kids show, so they tell you everything. And then the good, there's some really, really, really good Star Wars lore enhancing episodes.
How many?
That you then?
How many?
Oh, there's probably like
maybe
4
like
seasons.
2. No, I would say 2 a season.
Well, they have like some.
How many seasons?
There's like a 3-parter for the
6 seasons?
for that
2 a
whole Force
season?
thing.
2 a season, 6 seasons. How many episodes per season?
All you need to know is if you want to skip all of
Yeah, you can get nitty gritty, or you can just like
watch
go through and watch some really
the
good
3
stuff,
episodes with Yoda at the end of
and watch when
the
they go to the
series.
Force planet. Like
So there's a Zabrak.
yeah. All right. Anyway, so back to the books. Told you we good on some tangents.
Yeah.
Back to the books. So now we start to meet the rest of the rebel group, and the first person we meet is, let's go with Sinjir first.
Great.
So
it's not even a rebel group. There's only like the only rebel in it.
well,
is-
but I mean, they become like
They're
they
like the-
become
they're like-
the rebels.
by the end of it, they
The
become
little
enlisted.
the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
Yes, that's really the Fellowship of Get Temin off the planet.
Yeah.
is what it is.
Or more like save Wedge because he matters.
Yes, that's true. But even then, their story
God,
of
Wedge didn't die. Oh my God, I would have been so mad.
their story
I'm just
of
bummed that
saving
the
Wedge,
actor didn't go in the movie.
Their story of saving Wedge is literally like a backstory.
Yeah.
It's not even like the main objective.
He literally gets like knocked out and then gets like shot in his leg.
There is a character brought into the story, a rebel commando brought into the story who does 3 things, and at the end is like, I'm excited to be a part of the team, and he's brought in to be part of the team,
Yeah.
and he is barely in the book, and he's now a main character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sinjir is an Imperial officer who was present at the Battle of Endor on.
He is a loyalty officer.
He's
Yes.
like when you get like
IA. He's like an internal affairs, right?
yeah, like what do you call that when you get court-martialed? He's like that dude. He's like he's like an inquisitor within the Empire to make sure you're like
On the up and up.
Yeah.
But he's not an inquisitor. Inquisitors are different in the
right.
Empire.
He's not like a force-using weird like cowboy from
Super
space.
cool lightsaber.
Yeah. But he saw some stuff and he's disillusioned and he kind of just like puts on a rebel uniform and makes up a little story and gets off the planet. He's actually on the moon. He's actually on the Endor
he's on
moon.
the forest moon of Endor.
He saw Han. He saw Han.
Yeah, and he also saw Jazz, another character.
Jazz.
And
Which,
so
okay.
that's what we'll get to her.
Yeah.
But so he saw her and they had this moment where they locked eyes because she was there to assassinate Princess Leia, yes?
It's somebody like that. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
she's like skirting around the edges of the story. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Totally there. Remember that Zabrak on
yeah,
the
the one that showed
Endor?
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he is totally disillusioned by all of it and he's just out.
He
And so-
drinks, he like kind of hates the Empire, but he kind of like realizes that he's like against the Empire like in the book, which is a cool scene.
Right. And he essentially he's basically like the Jack Sparrow of this book.
That's exactly what I was going to
He's
say.
who sings Margaritaville? He's like a song.
A Jimmy
he's a Jimmy
Buffett?
Buffett
No,
song.
he's not Jimmy Buffett.
No, he's
a Jimmy Buffett
song
song.
of Jimmy Buffett is
like
written
a-
about his
He,
character.
he's
Yeah.
he like
He's like a
goes to this
character.
backwater planet and just gets drunk
He's
every
like washed
day.
up and he like decides to make something of himself.
Yeah, and
basically.
he's basically the Jack
Not
Sparrow character
because of the events that happened.
right,
here.
Like he literally does the Jack Sparrow like finger twiddles, and he's just a bonkers character who's
He's, like,
really over the top and very silly.
I liked him
would-
a lot though. He's my favorite
super
character
smart.
of the book.
He's super smart. He's super like talkative. Like he talks to strangers a lot, which
Right.
is really cool.
He's I would agree. I'd
He
say he's
also
my
is, like,
favorite character.
Really good at martial arts. Like he is surprisingly. He's a cool
Yeah.
character.
And so it's very strange, at least it was to me, and I'll be the first to say it, that the character who was this larger than life character was quickly and poorly given a gay subplot.
This is one of those things where it's like almost even hard to talk about because I don't want to like dig myself into a hole here.
Yeah, like I don't
want to
be
clear.
Anyone.
I live in Los Angeles. I'm like very like liberal. I have nothing. There's nothing like if you're gay, it doesn't matter to me at all.
There's no undertone to this. We're strictly talking about the story.
I'm talking about like the way that they present this information to us and the weird like ham-fisted way that it felt shoved in. And it's similar to what we were talking about, like the blue milk, the stuff. It seems like somebody was like, you got to get a gay guy in there. You got to get like some gay characters in there.
I think I have the same thing as you. The problem is that they did it in the beginning. They just were very subtle about it, which is how you should be.
Yeah, he talked about how
he tells a story about a boy, like a guy that he had to discipline.
Yeah, he was like he had such a pretty face, and it was such a shame I had to ruin it. And it was very obvious at that point.
You just think like, oh, this guy's like kind of interesting. Like he has like a weird sort of like sexuality quirk about him. But,
I knew immediately. I'm like, obviously.
Well,
like,
it doesn't matter. They went blunt with it. Like towards the end, they went full. Like they had a scene where him and Jazz are walking.
There's no tension.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's no tension betwing them at all.
They had never established that as a thing at all.
And literally, the way that they like structured it is like he's like, I need to ask you something, and she's like, yeah, we can have sex, and he's like, what? And she's like, I think you're okay to have sex with. And he's like, I don't do that. And she's like, oh, you're a racist? And he's like, no, I don't have sex with women. I'm into men. And she's like, oh. And then
end of scene.
Never again is his sexuality brought up. Never again does it ever like enter into like anything thematic about the book. Anything like they like didn't commit to having a gay character in the book. They just were like, oh,
they put it into and again,
it's like they wrote the book and then he wrote like 3 paragraphs when they were like, you got to put a gay character in there. He's like, well, Sinjir can be gay. If they had just never said he was gay and like I just imagined that he was gay, it would have been so much better for me as a reader because then he becomes like a real character and it's not so unnatural for me when they're like, they have this weird scene where they reveal that he's gay. It's the same thing with the ants. They're just like, and by the way, they were lesbians together. Goodbye. Like it doesn't. It's weird that it's
weird writing.
It's like,
but
feels
they
tacked on.
He also. It's worse because in the same book, he does it right. It's subtle in the beginning enough that you like. If you're smart enough to understand anything, you understand that he likes guys. But then you have to just like stop. You have to stop the or effing presses to like point it out, to explicitly say it, and then it's irrelevant at that point on.
And it also, there's a moment where Admiral Sloane is with one of her subordinates, and there's like a little tension there too, and you're like, cool, that's never addressed, and I'm totally fine with that, because it
might be a thing later,
like,
and that's
as
great.
The story develops, let's see what happens.
It would be so much better if they revealed that he was like a gay character by him like not being able to stop himself from like kissing someone, or like it motivating his character in some way. Like he meets somebody who he's friends with, and then like all the way to this point he's like being friends, and then he like makes a move, and then he gets like rebuked, or like they're into it, and then it becomes it's tied to his emotional arc. Like in the book, Sinjir's emotional arc is that he decides to like do what is right. Instead of
it has nothing to do with him, like sexually, his sexuality. There's nothing relatable.
But you could,
to the story.
You could use his sexuality, even if he wasn't gay. But like that could be a part of it. Like he could have like a wife, and then who's like a total like she like, you know, craps on him all day, and then he like falls in love with somebody. Like that could be a story that.
But his story arc was not that,
right?
And so them tacking that on, I think, did a disservice to his story arc that did exist.
Exactly. And the same thing with Jazz. Jazz almost has no character.
Right.
She's a bounty hunter, and that's why
she's like an archetype, not a character.
Yeah, that's why she's even on the planet. She's like one of those people who's like an emotionless cold killer, and then she kind of has like her like kind of like the ways of her people or something kind of ingrained in her a little bit. And so she has like culture that we can't touch or like explore really in the book. She just like says that some guy can have sex with her, which is like really out of character for her also. Like she's not like a promiscuous character at all. And it was like super weird that happened at all.
Especially in the context of the scene, they are going through a sewer to an old droid factory, and then immediately afterwards being chased by like tribesmen in the like weird tribal
like weird
people
zealots.
Yeah, and it's like that was a very weird scene, and it just, I feel like Sinjir is, I mean, like, he was such a well-written, well-designed, like, maybe, and I would say, like, the best character in the book. And
I agree.
Yeah.
Although Sloane is great too.
Sloane is also really good.
But his
and
story
complex.
arc is just like, it builds and builds and builds and builds. And then they added this little scene that, in the end, it doesn't matter if he was gay or not. But the way that they gave us that information was very, like, it was ham-fisted.
It disrupted the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick sidebar, just in case we don't know this. So this Zabrak woman's name is
Jazz.
which is super distracting because it sounds exactly like the style,
Jazz?
like jazz with like two Z's, like
Instead of J-A-S.
the musical style on Earth. But there is a style of music in Star Wars that is this type of music that Max Rebo plays. Who, if you don't know who that is, he's that little blue elephant on Jabba's sail bar.
Yes. Yes. By the way, they all died.
That style of music is called, with two Z's, it's called jizz.
Oh my god!
I'm not gonna get into that any more than this, but
You're not kidding. He has it on Wikipedia.
He's not even joking.
There's all kinds of different jizz instruments. There's jizz musicians. It's a whole thing. It's like the galactic. It's literally. Jizz was an upbeat, swinging genre of music, was most notably performed by Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes and the Max Rebo Band.
Is it because...
Subgenres of jizz included the styles of jizz whale, albade, and glitz, and then also jats, which is similar to jizz.
Of course.
Did they do that? Was like jizz a word that came into art like after the movies
It had
came
to
out?
have
Like
been.
they
It had
made
to
it when there was no weird connotation for
This
that?
is a real band, a jizz band from Star Wars called Ever Orbis and his Galactic Jizz Whalers. Also, there's an instrument called the jizz, and there's the jizz box, which is another instrument that they use, and also the peel rod.
It's beautiful.
Actually, jizz came from the Return of the Jedi novelization. Introduced the term jizz whaler, but the term jizz on its own was not introduced until Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, which I read.
Way to go, man.
So, okay, so then we talked about jazz, and then there is, who's left in our band of
We got the Zabrak, we got Temin, we got
Nora.
It's Jazz, Sinjir,
Nora, Temin,
and then whatever that guy's name is that I literally can't even remember his name.
because he was in like
He jumps into a turret and like blows up a ship because someone had to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he was a very convenient character where a bunch of rebels are sent by Admiral Ackbar.
Oh, the command. Yeah,
to assault the planet.
lone surviving
Yeah,
commando.
and he's the one guy who survives, and he is in 3 total chapters of the book, maybe.
Yeah, and they're
then
quick.
at the end, he's like, "Hey, I'm part of your team now." And they're like, "Welcome aboard."
Yeah, let's go. I literally don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name.
It's like it's more like at this point they're rescuing him, but yeah.
I literally don't remember his name, and I'm not going to spend any time thinking about it because that's how forgettable a character he was.
So their storyline.
He has like one cool action scene where he overpowers some guys, and then that's
it doesn't matter. I don't care about him. I don't care that he did that.
Their storyline is one that is very like, we're trying to save this boy, but the boy doesn't want to be saved, so we get caught up in his weird, like, crime lords are after him, so we go through that process, and now the Empire's here, and we gotta go save Wedge, and so now that's the main focus of the story, and it all culminates in 2 scenes that drive me crazy. The first is Nora, because she's an amazing pilot, and I actually really like Nora's character.
Yeah,
She
it's
is,
cool that she's like a mom.
but you're not. I mean, you're like slightly beaten over the head with it because it's about her getting her son. But like, you believe it. She was a mother who went off to a
she's
cause.
like the opposite of like Mara Jade. She's like the opposite of Princess Leia.
But she's
like,
doing everything she's doing now
her
for
husband,
son.
her husband was like taken away in the night. She's fighting for like the good of the galaxy, but is trying to raise a son. But like he doesn't get it. Like I
Right.
buy into her character completely.
Yeah, and so and I love that about her character. The thing I didn't like about her character is her 2 fake deaths, which drove me nuts.
Yes.
So
I'm like, this is bull.
there's
Stop doing
death
this.
1. Death 1 was she gets in a TIE fighter and she uses it. They spend a good deal of her talking about how TIE fighters are designed not to have ejector seats. They're basically suicide machines. And so she
literally.
they bring that up. Like she's like having a conversation in her head about this TIE fighter. and then she slams onto the deck of the palace to destroy the shuttles.
They all watch her explode in a ball of fire.
And then the thing is like, oh, turns out they do have ejector seats, so she's
wrong.
fine.
I messed up.
Later, she chases Sloane's shuttle as Sloane tries to evacuate the planet in a TIE fighter, and Sloane explodes the shuttle and escapes in the front with her pilot, but I believe that her aide, the one that she was like, there was a little tension there, she either dies or was captured. I can't remember what happened to her.
Me neither.
But she escapes with her pilot, and the explosion destroys Nora's TIE fighter, and she's in space. And the assumption is, like, they really
you
say,
die
like,
when you're in space.
They literally say, like, she's dead. Nora is dead. That's literally how chapter ends. And I was like, that's
twice
ballsy. I was like, that is
Yeah,
ballsy.
no, they did. What really made me angry is when they were playing that out, I was like, you did not just like fake her death to like kill her now. No, it was worse. They didn't kill her again.
Yeah.
And there's
like
2 chapters of Temmin just like being like,
No, my mom died. Yeah.
as if he wasn't like insufferable
like
enough.
they just like, why do we need that scene of him twice like being like, oh no.
Yeah. And so she
Mr.
lives, and it
Bones.
turns out everyone's alive, and now they get to go on an amazing adventure together, and that'll be the next book. It's like them going off on this adventure, and so that's sort of their story. They rescue Wedge, and really, honestly, Wedge rescues himself, basically.
That's what I'm like remembering. I'm like, wait, Wedge like does it. He just does like everything.
He gets like shot,
messed
knocked out.
up.
He's like limping around. They like almost never see him. They like see him like they're both like everyone's unconscious when they pass by each other.
Temmin's major scene is in the end. Everyone is aboard the yacht, the opulent yacht, and Temmin basically like
Pops up out
hijacks
of
stuff
nowhere.
on the ship, and so then they end up getting shot at, and really there's a space battle that wraps up the story, but they're not involved in the space battle. They're just flying
Like
through it, trying
characters,
not to
yeah,
get
in
killed.
it.
And so in the end, the Sloane escapes, and all the other Imperials end up dead.
So the last
essentially.
thing we should talk about. The last thing we should talk about is some like bad guy theory crafting.
Well, we should talk about that
There's
B
a lot
story
also
of the
B-
Empire.
Right.
So what happens?
There's Han Solo to talk about.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a little
That's
bit.
get to
all
that.
that's like little snippies. Yeah.
So what happens is Sloane is having a meeting on Akiva, and it has the Imperial bigwigs, and so it's stereotypes. It's one of the people
it's the heads trying to figure out what the heck to do now.
right.
yeah, but it's all the different stereotypes. You have the banker, you have the evil moth, you have
Like
the
Emperor's,
old
like,
lady
dude.
who was like, I was on the Emperor's council.
She
was
it
great.
Is it a lady?
Yeah. And then,
No,
then
there's
there was
the
the
dude
who's
that was like his buddy.
yeah, then there's the Emperor's like the dude who's like always with the Emperor. But
That's
then
the
there's,
one. That's
but
the
the
one
old
who's
lady was
cool.
the one who she was kicked off the council because she told the Emperor, "Don't be a dummy and build a second Death Star." She was like,
Oh,
a second Death
she
Star
was
is a terrible idea.
she was just like the good general
yeah,
who
yeah,
Sloane's trying to impress.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so
I remember
you have
that.
all these,
But she, yeah, sorry.
you have all these stereotypes and the one-dimensional characters, but they're all like the
And there's
the
that,
evil
yeah,
stereotypes.
like the moth who's hot-headed and names
and makes
himself
like
Grand Moff.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's going down.
Oh yeah, he'll be
there's
dead by the end.
he's
yeah.
the very obvious Disney Channel movie villain, like
Yeah.
just very one note, and he was the entire time.
And so basically, like, nothing happens with them. They just like meet up and they're like, what do we do?
But the
coolest thing.
stuff of what they talk about is great because I love the fact that most of the time, honestly, most of the time their storyline is Admiral Sloane reacting to Wedge breaking out or trying to keep Admiral Ackbar. Like there's a cat and mouse thing with her and Admiral Ackbar.
or
like,
them being like, we're so evil. Yes, we are.
yeah, and there's like, and then she has to keep all of these people under control because they all want to like do different things. The Moff is like, let's just go crazy and attack the rebels, and you have the one. Basically, what happens, and then we'll get to the theory crafting here, is that the one guy who is the Emperor's like best friend.
These are the dudes that they're in the movie.
I think
They're in the
so.
clones.
I think it's one of those guys that's. I don't think it's the blue guy, but it's one
no,
of the
the
dudes.
blue
who's with
guy's
the
in
Emperor.
another one of the books.
Yeah, but it's one of the dudes who's with the Emperor, and literally his idea is like, look, I don't claim to be part of the Force, but I've seen it work, and I know how this stuff works. And I know that
He's like,
anyone
dudes,
can,
it's real.
anyone can get access to
Yeah.
this. Like if we,
he said that he's been trying, like reading
he's
into
like,
it though.
I know how the dark side works. If we just pack up everything, leave, and just leave the galaxy, we can come back later and be super strong. Like if we just go to the void and train in the dark side out there,
and just crush everyone. when we
trust
come
me
back.
on this, it'll be awesome. And everyone looks at him like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, just like, okay, crazy guy.
But
that seems like what.
Yeah, I'm like, I want that. I want to
And I
see
feel like
that.
that's something that would be amazing in the movies. I don't know if that's the plot of the movie,
but that has, you don't just say that. I mean, they kind of imply the Wrens in another part of the book, but like that could definitely easily be a thing that is another comic or another book.
It could explain
or,
like the Empire's like new look. It could explain.
like there's so much cool, like the stuff they talk about.
Yeah, who are these, like, because just like the First Order, you kind of think of like they're the group that like thinks they're like original Hydra. We're like no,
super...
we're not Nazis. We're better. Like they're like the offshoot that like thinks they're above the
they're
other
like
thing too.
They're like the priests or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and there's so much cool stuff they talk like. Everyone has an idea of what they want to do, and I loved them talking about like the back and forth of what
The one
they should
guy
do,
was like,
how
the
they
one
should...
guy was like, let's just go ham right now,
he's
everybody.
Like, if we're gonna all die anyway, because eventually the Republic's just gonna have too much. If we're all gonna die and the Empire's gone, let's go out in a blaze of glory and kill everybody.
And maybe we'll win. Like, maybe
he's like, who knows? Maybe we'll win. And because Sloane has access to a Super Star Destroyer.
She's like, that's her whole.
I think she is the last one. I'm not
that's
sure.
the whole reason she's there.
But you find out that it's not even hers. It's...
Right. And that's the key that I think is maybe my favorite part of this book. Is so after all this, Sloane's trying to do all this stuff. In the end, every one of those characters is either captured or killed.
Yeah, most of them die.
Yeah, and then Sloane makes it away with her pilot, and they're literally the only two who make it out of there.
They're
and,
like, damn. Yeah.
And they shoot off to wherever it is on the outer rim, like far away. And that's where this massive fleet is with the Superstar Destroyer and all these Imperial ships. And there's a scene at the very end, which is a great sort of like tidbit of what's to come. And Sloane meets with this mysterious,
like Dr. Claw style
Grand Admiral.
Yeah. Maybe he's
they don't explain anything about him.
Andy Serkis's character from the movie.
They don't explain anything about him except he's just sitting there listening to like classical music.
He's pretty freaking Thrawny, dude.
Yeah, he's very Thrawny. And
they definitely want you to. Well,
and
then his whole thing is like, oh, it was a test, and like the whole thing.
She's like, what if I died? And he's like, well, then
you wouldn't have been.
You wouldn't have been good enough to be here right now. Like that's it.
He's like,
yeah,
you didn't
but
die.
then she's
That's
even
why I
like,
put all my faith in you.
Isn't
He's
even?
like,
She's like, she has no idea. Like if he's even telling the truth. Like
yeah, like and it's this character that even if it's not named Grand Admiral Thrawn, the idea of like this guy who is like, I am a puppet master and I like understand people through like
he's like a general,
art.
he's like a master strategist.
Yeah, this guy's through music, and he's like, I knew that was gonna happen. I knew none of that was. All those people, they're out of our way now. We don't have to deal with any of those assholes anymore. This is ours. Like we can do whatever we want. And she's like, I could have died, and he's like, yeah, but you didn't, so we're good.
Yeah. Just if you're 12 years old and you're listening to this. There's a series of books by someone named Timothy Zahn.
Yes.
And Steve Zahn's father, the actor.
That's not true.
Saving Silverman.
Not at all true.
Yeah, the guy from Sahara, or whatever. But basically, there's a trilogy of books that are referred to as the Thrawn Trilogy, and it's Heir to the Empire and two other books that I don't remember the name of. Black one and a red one also.
Yes.
There's
a lot of stuff that happens in those books. Like
they're like sort of like the gold standard.
Luke meets his girlfriend. Like they're like an amazing story.
Yeah.
It gives
they're
you
like
everything.
Shadows of the Empire in that they're seminal old expanded universe works.
Yes.
Yeah,
like,
you should go check that out.
You really should. And the bad guy in that is this Grand Admiral who was in the TIE Fighter game. They put him in there because he was so popular.
He's a Chiss. He's like blue.
Yeah,
everyone likes him. Everyone likes
Star Wars:
him.
The Old Republic.
Yeah,
the blue characters. Those are.
He might be arguably one of the most loved.
He wears instead of the regular Imperial uniform, he wears like a white one. He has like blue skin and red eyes. He's really cool.
And he is like this master strategist, and he learns about cultures through their art. He studies art. And once he learns about them and like what they've made and created, he can defeat them. And so he has like a group of like badass bounty hunters who work for him. He has these animals, like lizard things that block the Force.
Yeah.
So he's legit like prepared for anything. He is a fantastic character. Everything about him is great. Like people love this character. And to have a hint that like there's someone that could be as insightful and wonderful and like well thought out as him, I was like, all right, I'll see you for the next book.
Loops back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is that like yes, those books didn't happen necessarily, but it's not like they're going to ignore those ideas.
Right.
And that's fine by me. I don't care that if what his name is. I like Admiral Thrawn. I'm excited that he existed, and I remember when I was a kid being like, if they just made these 3 books into the movie,
that's what I thought. Yeah,
it would have been perfect. But honestly, this is enough for me.
It's probably not going to happen. But what just if it's him? What if it's him?
It could.
What if it's just him? How cool would that be, though?
It could very well just be him. That's the thing that is like crazy to me right now. I'm not like reading like the blogs and stuff. Like, this is a very informal, like, we're just like 3 buds chatting about stuff.
You guys, I know there's a lot of people that like theorycraft and forums. It's just you guys that we like talk. That's our whole echo chamber.
I have not looked up any information about this book other than having read it and talked to you guys.
Yeah, I will.
I never have been a big fan of that, though. I kind of just like doing it on my own, or like
I'll probably, like, the deeper we go into this, I imagine that I'll start doing a little bit of reading. But like, I don't know. Like, there's a few other things that maybe we should touch on before we go, and it kind of ties into what I'm saying, which is just like, I'm not trying to like get every little Easter egg detail. I just want to like put together like a little through line of stuff so that I can like anticipate things.
Right.
And so we have this guy who might be Thrawn. That's like tentpole number 1 for me, right? Like,
right.
Number 1 for me is that. Number 2 is the Han Solo
Chewbacca.
So the C storyline in all this is they're interludes in between chapters, and the interludes are little tidbits of what's going on in the galaxy.
Yeah,
slices of life. Of everything from like a father with his son,
brother versus brother.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a rebel.
Oh,
I'm an empire.
That was like that. I hated that. That was way too on the nose.
Yeah.
Was that going anywhere?
No. I
He's
hope
like,
I
get
hope
out
I
of here,
see,
son.
I hope I never see 90% of those interlude characters ever again, because that would make it a lot better for me.
But and then there was like, you know, a father and son. They're like, pick up the rock and let's fight. There was all those different like little tiny bits, but the ones that mattered were, and all those were doing was showing you that the battle's still not over. The Empire and the Republic are
really
fighting
like, and
everywhere.
not everybody knows the truth.
Other than that cool Mon Mothma one, there's like 2 other ones that are like really, I think,
really stand
important.
Out. Yes.
First one being the Han Solo Chewbacca one, where he's chilling in space with Chewbacca, just doing his cool Han Solo thing.
Yep.
He kind of like mentions like Leia, and he kind of has a little bit more of a like cavalier attitude. It seems, based on the most recent trailer, that Han and Leia are going to at least end up in some sort of relationship, be it marriage or whatever. But, or at least,
they mentioned like he
least
misses
they're
her.
in,
Like he wants to like get back with her.
But he has a little bit more of like a bachelor vibe to him in this version of the story. And he gets a call, and it's like, yo, I'm your bro that owes you.
I think it was a chick.
Oh, yeah? Right. She's which the fact that it's a woman actually is something that fuels my like, Han is like got some like side ladies going on.
Oh, obviously. Yeah.
But
read the comments.
she's like, get out of here. She's like, don't spoil that for me yet.
I didn't spoil anything. I just said read the comics.
You heavily implied that there's going to be a side lady in the comics. Is that not what you were implying?
The look you just gave him
I'm
was
just
like,
saying, completely normal, like separately. You should read the comics.
I would love to read the comic. I read the first one, Loot Crate. Anyway,
sponsor this.
Yeah, sign up for dude.
Come on, Loot Crate. Get on this.
Get out of here. All right. He's chilling. He gets this call from this lady, and she's like, "I owe you a favor. You told me that if I ever heard anything about Kashyyyk, which is the Wookiee homeworld, because if you don't know this, the Empire like totally subjugated the Wookiees.
Wookiees are slaves.
The reason
there's a whole interlude about like Wookiees being slaves with like Rancor in the background. And
there's like a prison break kind of
one.
Yeah. But the
Which
whole
is actually kind of entertaining. I like that.
The whole thing about Han Solo and Chewbacca is that Han Solo was an Imperial cadet, and he saved Chewbacca. And
yes, if you're wondering what the story of Han Solo was that hasn't ever been addressed in the movies,
the Han Solo Chronicles.
That's the story. Is that he was an Imperial cadet.
Yeah, and he rescues Chewbacca, and because he rescues Chewbacca, Chewbacca does a traditional Wookiee thing, which is that he swears a life debt to Han Solo. That's the story of Han Solo and Chewbacca. So he gets this call. He's like, "Oh my God, Kashyyyk is vulnerable for like this one short window of time because
Imperial troops are leaving the planet
to like go fight on fronts,
and then other troops are going to come back. But for that brief period of time, there's only a few Imperials on that planet.
So then he's like, all right, well, who can we get? And there's like, oh, there's no one. There's no rebels or no alliance or no republic that are like available. So he's like, all right, Chewie, get every smuggler that I know who owes me a favor on the horn, and we're gonna like go fight a war.
Yeah, they're just gonna lie to all the smugglers and be like, "Yeah, there's money involved, and it's gonna be great."
Yeah,
and it's gonna be like this smuggler war.
I'm assuming it's gonna be a book, right? Like we're all thinking that it's gonna be its own book.
Hopefully, it's a book,
or do you think it's gonna happen?
It could be. It could be sowing the seeds for the like Han Solo movie.
I don't think that's gonna happen. There's. The Han Solo movie, I believe, will be about Han Solo's origin story.
Like a young boy Han Solo?
It has to be. Because that would be...
There's no middle-aged Han Solo anymore.
You're right. But I wouldn't care at this point.
Just give him black hair.
Yeah.
Like, just dye his hair.
I'm just get rid of Harrison Ford. If you're going to do another young...
Chewie,
if you're going to... As long as like...
Chewie, where's my Werther's?
Chewie.
As long as...
rice
oh,
pudding.
my God. Rice pudding?
Sure,
some blue rice pudding.
Chewie, my slippers.
As long as Luke and Leia are in the movie, I don't care who plays Han Solo.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want him to like meet like a new Luke and a new Leia, and then there's like new.
No, a Han Solo movie I imagine would be similar to Rogue One movie,
right?
Where it's. And by the way, while we're talking about Rogue One, really quick, I hope that if they meet any Force user, he just like they're badasses. I hope they get wrecked.
Yeah,
like we need more of that. Where like. You have this badass group.
They really need to like
heroes,
reinforce.
And like Darth Vader shows up and they just get destroyed.
It's so lame that like stormtroopers are like, or clone troopers are like, oh, it's time to kill the Jedi. Bam, they're done. Got it.
Yeah. We need to reinforce that like no one's prepared to fight a Jedi.
So
I do want them, because they have a lot of martial artists in the movie, like in Rogue One. I want them to canonize Teräs Käsi or Teräs Käsi. I don't know how you like Teräs Käsi, like the martial art form that's like
from
like,
that even older game for the PS1 that was a fighting game.
But it's been more than just that. It spread. It's in
but that's where
galaxies
that's
and
where
a bunch of other
it came
places
from.
too. You're right.
It came from that crappy fighting game.
But like that's a little thing that would mean like a little, just a word, a phrase would mean so much to me.
Okay, so that's the first one. Some kind of Han Solo smuggler war for Kashyyyk. That's the first cool thing.
The next thing is twice as cool.
Yeah.
And I would say twice as important.
Well, because Jedi stuff is the coolest.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially Dark Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
So this scene sets up where it's... I'm trying to think what those aliens are called. It's the guy who's in either the bar or Jabba's palace, maybe both, who has the long, like... horny nose.
The dude who's like a spy and
he has like the black hood and he's like right. That dude and a translator are selling what apparently is Darth Vader's lightsaber to 3 cloaked individuals and a young like cloaked girl who's their go-between.
It's like so clearly meant to be the galactic K-pop group that is the what is it? The Knights of Ren.
Yeah. The K-pop group Knights of Ren.
Knights of Ren,
and
from South Korea.
Yeah, and it's dark and ominous, and they'll pay whatever. Like he tries to up the price. Like they're just like, sure, just give it to us, and they take it, and he's like, so what are you gonna do with that? And they're like, we're gonna destroy it.
Or some,
we're like,
they want to give it to him in death or something.
Yeah,
they like want to honor
to
him or something. Yeah,
and it's like,
so it
what is this about? And it's a really quick scene that's very just sort of like out of place in this whole legends of what's happening in the galaxy.
Right.
And there's this one, and I think that's the one scene that is the start of
the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
So just for the context, if you don't know what the Knights of Ren are, Adam Driver from Girls, he's like the boyfriend on Girls. He's playing this villain.
He's playing a very good-looking, cool villain.
Yeah, he's playing like a Vader-y looking villain,
Kylo Ren,
and he has his little team of like emo.
You saw in the most new trailer, and they're all in the rain, and one has a lightsaber, but one dude has like a sniper rifle.
Like
one
posing,
dude has a giant staff.
Yeah, they're like chill dudes.
Yeah, well, Kylo has his lightsaber, and he's holding Luke's in his other hand.
Here's my thought process though, and I theory.
Yeah,
that lightsaber. It feels like a lightsaber of someone who doesn't know how to construct a lightsaber.
It's a very, very garish idea.
No, they've already said that it's like it's like thrown together hodgepodge.
Well, here's my theory,
which is
then.
Counter to sort of like what the old universe was, where like a Jedi had to make it because it's a precision. It's like a very hard to do thing.
You spoke to the Force to like
to like align everything. Like you couldn't just do it.
No, there's not even instructions. You just like do it with the Force. Yeah.
Well, no, you were
There's
like trained to do that.
yeah.
Like, but what if Kylo Ren? Because using this scene of these guys who were like, we're gonna take this lightsaber. And he was like, what if the Knights of Ren are literally just mega fanboys?
It seems that way.
Because it seems like in my mind
there was some graffiti or something too, right? Like in the book that was like a picture of, it was like Vader lives or something like that.
Yeah, and I feel like there's this group that's just like super fanboys of Darth Vader, and they like, for example, we have his mask in the trailer. Like in my mind, it's
he's literally like praying to him in the new trailer.
Yeah, like we have in my mind,
but they also do
like there's this entire setup of these guys being like, Kylo Ren's a badass. They're like part of the Empire. They're like all these things. But I want it, and I know this won't happen, but I want it to be like at the end when they go to fight, he's clearly better than Finn, right? Because Finn doesn't know what he's doing.
Maybe, yeah.
But what happens is like you realize he's like, imagine if Luke shows up and then like decides to help Finn and stop him.
Just like a mad poser.
You realize that
and like
he's a
smokes.
total
You mean like
poser,
smokes Kylo Ren?
destroys Kylo Ren, and that's why you get like there really are Sith in the background, like operating everything, and so Kylo Ren is just a poser,
like a patsy.
Yeah, like the entire time. And so the Knights of Ren are these guys who think they're Dark Jedi but aren't Dark Jedi because they want to so badly be Dark Jedi.
Which is a great, like, the movie's called Force Awakens. If we assume that like the thing that everybody was talking about when the first trailer comes out, where Finn's head comes up and he's like, "Bah!" and he's like,
yeah,
like they're talking about like this is like the return of the Force to the galaxy. You know what I mean? And so, you know,
like Heroes, there was a giant eclipse and
right.
And then they all got their Force powers.
Sidesh. I will never get powers. Except he totally did. But what I'm saying is it gives you this great sort of like litmus test read on the galaxy of like how different types of people are like thinking about the Force. Like there's like you see Han Solo talk about like, oh, it was real. But because in almost like he's answering that, like a lot of people are like, that was hocus pocus. You know what I mean? And then there's people like Kylo Ren, which are almost like hipsters. Like it's like the equivalent of like people who like, you know, record on tape and
right.
and like buy vinyl.
The guy who goes to the coffee shop with his record player.
Yeah.
And sits outside. Yeah.
Bob Dylan, man, there's never been another. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I like that's a really interesting. If that's what the Knights of Ren are, I like love that. That's what they are.
I think
I also like that idea because that will like most likely happen, and then it gives them a chance to have like Kylo be the bad guy in this one, and then introduce, because I just know Andy Serkis is like
because
character. But then he will train Kylo, and like Kylo will like progress as like
I think
Finn
Kylo
and their
Ren's
crew.
dead. I think Kylo Ren's dead.
I think he's gonna get.
They
bopped.
learn don't kill a cool character in the first movie. You have a trilogy.
I think he's gonna get bopped. I don't think he's gonna get killed. I think he's gonna get bopped, and then we're gonna have this new kind of character who's like, you know, like, oh my god, everything that I did was like you know, being a college student and like being like thinking that I'm like smarter than everyone on Earth, and I just got like rocked. Do you know what I mean? And him being like desperate and like hurt, kind of like Draco Malfoy kind of vibe.
Yeah,
That's actually exactly what I was thinking. That he's like the Draco.
But I feel like that scene would be like the scene of, because you can see it in the trailer when Finn pulls up his lightsaber and he looks like a badass, and then Kylo is just like and walks at him, and Finn is just, he backs off like, oh shit. And
dude, those are different parts of that fight. I know it.
But I'm saying,
crazy.
But I'm saying,
you think those two shots are because they were next to each other in the trailer? They're next to each other.
I think that they're just. I think that it's just what he's saying is just like Finn respects Kylo Ren as a competitor.
Oh, you're saying he also probably realized that he's outclassed.
Kylo Ren comes at him in a way in that shot where Finn is like, he's a little like, I was not prepared for this because he's new to being a Jedi. And I would imagine that would be an amazing scene for Luke to appear and be like,
and
just show up, like save the day.
Down,
his first time in the movie, save the day, and then
there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
Oh and then God. Kylo's like, I made a horrible mistake.
Hey.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah, but whatever. All right, we're off the book now. So
We're off the book. That's that book. What else?
Wait, Mandalorian armor.
Huh?
Oh, there's a guy. There's a
whole scene where a guy goes to like to buy some
on Tatooine.
Yeah, he's going to buy
yes,
something, and there's like a whole set of Mandalorian armor.
There's
for
a guy who's like trying to make a deal with the Jawas, and this dude's like, "Well, I can help you with that." And he shows up, and he basically takes Mandalorian armor from the Jawas.
Okay.
There's a heavy implication that it could be Boba Fett. I don't think that's what it was, though.
Well, okay, but it could be.
They say that it's a set of like Mandalorian armor with acid burns in it. It's absolutely his armor.
Okay, but here's the thing that's tight.
I don't think that guy's Boba Fett.
No, but
Right.
no. But what if that's how they save Boba Fett? What if that's
Boba Fett is a...
Yeah, like what if?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That he's a Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah, like they just like they're like, okay, forget about that.
The guy,
dumb
the guy
story.
even says though, because the guy, we need to give a little more context. The guy that he helps into this like trade thing is an Imperial guy,
right?
And he basically is like shoots him like, go tell your people, or the mining people, like we're not like gonna put up with this anymore on Tatooine, like almost like he's gonna become the Lone Ranger.
They said they wanted to do a Boba Fett movie, right?
Yeah.
What if this would be
Yeah.
amazing? That's an amazing point. Because he doesn't talk. He barely talks. Boba Fett barely. What if Kid Boba Fett is not Boba Fett from episode 5?
Yeah.
That's almost like the only way to salvage a lot of that.
I would love that to be the case. Where Boba Fett
it's like the Red Hood from like DC.
Red Hood.
Like it's like just a thing that
whoever.
people can
It's just the armor, dude. Like, there's a character back in the day.
That would be so
cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This is what I thought
Let
immediately.
Jesse write.
My god. Can you imagine if the movie starts out where it's the kid is dead, someone finds the armor, and like,
or just like kills the kid in like the first scene.
Yeah, like but and here's the best part.
This kid's dead.
Did you ever watch like, Buffy? Like,
yeah.
Where like they had that in the first season, that kid vampire, and then like Spike comes and is just like immediately dead. I'm like way cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of moment.
Yeah.
What I would love is if at the end of the movie, the main character who's Boba Fett
dies.
is killed, and another guy takes it, and he's like, and it's the hint that like, well, maybe that's the guy from the movies that we love. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Boba Fett. I would love that to be the case rather than like the old expanded universe, which was like, no, he flew out of the
Dengar pulled him out. Now he rolled with Dengar,
right.
for that dude who just looks like the Michelin Man melted.
Yeah, no,
Who, by the way, was in this book in his own interstitial fighting some
he
weird
had a fight like with a
I
random
like Dengar.
guy.
Dengar's like he's like
He's like,
man, he's like the
what's-
Kathy Griffin of like like bounty hunters.
What's that? No, he's not the Kathy Griffin. He's what's the character from Mortal Kombat who's like the cop who's just like, I'm here.
Stryker?
Yeah, he's like that
He's,
dude.
he's like there.
Yeah, he's like,
some of the
I'm
games he gets killed.
Yeah.
Like
No, I'm back.
Yeah.
either way, he's never like gonna
No, they
make
gave
it.
Dengar his own scene, and in his own scene, he's like,
He's like
I'm
too
old for
and
this.
too, yeah.
So, but that's there's a character in the expanded universe whose name is Jaster Muriel, who is like a pretender.
It just sounds like a made up name.
It is a made
Oh,
up.
well, I mean, it is.
Jaster Muriel.
The music of Star Wars is called Jizz, dude. Anything can happen. All right. Jaster Muriel is a character who is like he's like Beta Ray Bill. He's like a
horse person.
No, he's like a pretender.
Who gets
He's like a pretender to Boba Fett, and he has a set of Mandalorian armor, and he says he's Boba Fett a lot, and like it's like kind of like that same kind of idea of like Boba Fett is the armor, it's not really a man. And so
That'd be amazing. That'd be an amazing way to make all the legends of Boba Fett true, in that
It keeps
Boba
him
Fett's
so cool.
constantly new and different. And that's what a kid, if I was Disney, that's what a kid would want to hear. You could be Boba Fett if you found Boba Fett's armor.
that's the cool, like that's how you keep him cool, and you still have that dumb thing that they did in the prequels, which was make him like a little New Zealand boy.
It also makes his like armor
My
because
apologies to New Zealand.
It's not about New Zealand. It's just like he's a boy from New Zealand. He has an accent which he does not have in the other movie.
Right.
Which is the main problem. Like that's why I pointed out that he's from New Zealand, because he's like, Dad, I'm from New Zealand. Like he's like from New Zealand. Like, come on,
fly to the Concords, yeah.
But I think that would be amazing to have the guy who played Django be Boba Fett in the beginning of the new movie, and then immediately
just
killed.
get rocked.
Immediately killed.
Well, what's
and then
good-
someone else takes his place.
Or like
Well, also-
the dude who plays Boba Fett.
Yeah, that kid will be old enough. But like,
He's like an
it also
MMA dude
it
or
also
something.
makes because like his armor was so iconic and cool looking. And then, since then, like there's just thousands of Mandalorian armors.
There's been Mandalorian.
But if having his armor makes you Boba Fett, it makes his more important.
It makes his special, and it even like the buff ones that look kind of cooler than Boba Fett's armor. Not as cool as Boba Fett's because his is like
Boba Fett is Boba Fett's
it's like Highlander.
armor.
Yeah, it's like
the Mega Charizard X.
Yeah.
To the
yeah, he's the Highlander basically. Get hype on that.
Yeah.
Next book.
That'd be great. I love that.
Whomever
is
wears this armor has the power of Boba Fett.
Yeah. Next book. What is it? What's
All right, so the next book should probably be
Lords of the
What
Sith?
is that? Lords of the Sith? Is
Lords
that
of
what it's
Sith.
Yeah, Lords of the Sith.
I've already read it. I'm gonna just like
Peruse
try
it.
to like touch back up on it.
The synopsis of the book on the back of the book is basically it. From what I gather, I've read about 5 pages of this so far, so I'm completely pulling this out of my ass.
I have not read word 1.
Literally, what it's supposed to be is it's like Vader and Palpatine get like shot down, and then they're in. It's not the Rebels because it's too early for the Rebels, but it's like they just have to like deal with being crashed on a planet where everyone wants to kill them. And that's a cool idea. The first scene is like crazy, so get hyped for that. It's like
Great.
the first scene
First
is
scene's
like
great.
it's like Terminator. The first scene is like Terminator. It's insane.
Robots show up.
No, it's like the first
just
scene
read
of
it,
like Terminator. Like,
all
it's,
right.
Yeah, like
With like
it's
skulls being
just
crushed.
read
my
the
God.
damn.
All right.
Just read the book.
Is it like the year 1984?
Imagine like the kitchen scene.
20XX.
Imagine like the kitchen scene from Jurassic Park, except Darth Vader is the Raptor. That is the first scene of the book.
What?
Yeah, get hyped for it.
All right. I guess that's where we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
And I will say thank you for listening or watching or doing whatever you're doing on whatever platform you're on. And
Leave
2
constructive
weeks.
feedback.
Yeah.
Give us 5 stars on iTunes.
Yes.
Give us 5 stars and leave a comment. because that'll
Give
be good
us
for
your feedback. Let if you're gonna say like, well, that wasn't this character's name. I mean,
Get out of here.
We got all the characters right. The ones we didn't get right are the ones we said that guy or that person.
Or we made like a light mistake. Like it doesn't like just get
Yeah,
excited
but
with us.
it is important to note like
We're
we're just like human. I'm sorry.
We're very enthusiastic. We're like this is totally real. We have no ulterior motive here. We're not trying to be know-it-alls or Star Wars historians.
You don't make money off of Star Wars podcasts, guys. We're doing this because we had a conversation, and then there were several people on the internet who were like, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Great.
So that's why this exists.
And we're like, I just want to talk about it. So if we get a
Yeah,
chance
and
to
our plan currently is to do everything.
all the new continuity books. We'll figure out the
books.
comics because they're like kind of ever going. Actually, though, a lot of the character ones are 5-part arcs.
Yeah,
like, and
or
that's
we'll
it.
break them up. Like we'll do like because the arcs, the Star Wars comic is also in arcs, right?
Yeah.
Like even the Jason Aaron main book.
Here's a cool thing is that so the Star Wars one and the Darth Vader one seem to be happening like relatively concurrently.
Yeah.
They're having a crossover event. They're having a 6-part crossover event, which sounds a lot like the plot of the book you're about to read. But like, so maybe once that happens, we read all those and do an episode about.
Well, we can do like arc 1 of the comics, then we can do the Vader arc 1, then we can do Lando, then we can
The
do
entire Lando series or
Princess
the
Leia.
entire Leia.
First, next time.
Oh yeah,
Lords
we're
of
gonna
the
do
Sith.
books first.
Lords of the Sith.
It's on everything. You can get it as an audiobook, you can get it as a regular book. You can steal it. Don't do that.
You
No, please
can.
don't do that.
You can
I mean,
break
you could.
into whatever borders are
That
still
is
left
dark
and just
side.
take
That
it.
is very dark side.
Super dark side of you, yeah.
Yeah, that's super dark side.
That'll hurt
Something
your
passion sets you free. Don't worry about it. Dark
Great.
side.
leads to suffering.
No, that's Jedi BS.
Right. All right.
All right, so that's it for us. Thank you guys for listening, and we will be back with you in 2 weeks to talk about some Sith. See you then.